Steve King, welcome to the studio, my friend. Welcome back. We
Thanks,
love it
Vic.
when you come in. Are you guys still the largest gun store in the state of Missouri?
I think we're up there. If we're not the largest, we're up there pretty high.
No, I love having you on. Your knowledge is very deep. You did radio shows for a long time too. Where did you do radio?
I was on KTRS, Big 550 for 8 years, every Sunday night.
Did you like it?
I loved it. It was very fun.
Just once a week?
Yeah, it was once a week. We had 2 different time slots, but we were going right before Dan, Outdoors Dan, and it was a big 4-hour block of hunting and Second Amendment and shooting sports, and it was really fun.
Talking with Steve King, the owner of Metro Shooting Supply. We want to talk about, we're going to get into some of these gun issues. There's obviously in St. Louis City, politicians want to take away open carry. Now there's a question, do St. Louis County officials want to follow suit? I'm convinced Tashara Jones wants to be the next. She wants, and I talked with our friend Cedric, and we've talked about this several times. She wants to be the head of any co-op that happens, any merger. And that's anything that St. Louis, so like St. Louis City is telling St. Louis County, you're going to do what we tell you to do. You follow it and say, okay, I'll follow you around. Okay. We're going to get into the gun issues, but you had a massive issue, and it relates you to the every average day person that deals with these things. What happened with MSD that you're dealing with right now? And for people in the St. Louis area, you were able to get Elliot Davis. That's right. Elliot Davis came out and did a story with you.
That's right. Elliot's a great guy.
Was it a you paid for it segment?
It was.
Okay.
And he really socked it to MSD. Unfortunately, MSD lied on air. And there has been nothing resolved. Back on Veterans Day, last November 11th, we had a huge sewer backup into our range area. And
Joe, we can show that picture whenever you want, and we'll pop it in and keep it up.
Yeah, we have probably 50 of these pictures, but different types. But it literally destroyed our range area, our counters. We couldn't get customers in. Our entrance right there, as you can see on the left, that's how
the
you
entrance
got
to your store.
That's the entrance to the store.
Bridgeton store, right?
And we had a car drive through. Some burglars drove through the front door on August 20th, and this is November 11th. And this was the only entrance to our store. So it was completely flooded out. That's the beginning of the flood. We had about 9 inches of water total. And it wasn't just water. It was human waste, little pieces of corn, all kinds of nice smelly things. You're right.
Ew.
So customers were not able to come in through the store. And we had MSD, their insurance company, sent an adjuster out 2 days later, 3 days later. And they told us, you have to rip up all this carpet. You've got to fix the walls. You've got to take out your display cases. You've got to repair this because it's human waste. We can't have that in your building. We immediately got a contractor involved. MSD recommended the people that were there cleaning it up. They said they'd worked with them before. So we get the people in there. It took about 6.5, 7 weeks to get this done. In the meantime, we can't have business because there's no rental guns. There's no classroom. There's no concealed carry. There's just very skeleton crew there. And people can't get upstairs to shop. So this is Black Friday is affected. Christmas is affected. Everything is messed up with this. And we turned the bills into MSD, and they refused to pay them. And I said,
how long has this been going on for?
This has been going on since November.
What were the prices of the bills?
So our construction cost to get all this cleaned up and rebuilt was $77,000 approximately.
Oh, wow.
We lost $70,000 in income, and that was a very conservative number. We told them they wanted us to close down 100%. I told them if we close down for Black Friday through Christmas, you're looking at a couple $100,000. And they said, oh, by all means, heavens no, don't close down. Stay open at all costs. We'll reimburse you. So we stayed open, and we had very little traffic through the store. As you can see, they couldn't get through. And again, that hallway is the only way into the building, and the walls are torn out, the carpet's torn up. There's no rental guns. There's no sales counter. There's nothing downstairs because it's empty, completely empty. And so we go and talk to MSD and submit all the bills. And the construction company had been sending bills every week. And MSD approved them. And they said, everything looks good. And then towards the end of the time, they said, we're not paying for it. So for the last 8 months, I've been fighting MSD. I've contacted the Better Business Bureau. They lied to the Better Business Bureau and said that I won't take their money.
They can continue this on and on.
They're the biggest people in town. And the bad part is that when I talk to the insurance adjuster, this is what really got me. I work hard every day, and I pay my bills, and I get everything done. And And they said, when you signed up to be an MSD customer, you agreed that MSD wouldn't be 100% responsible for any backups. And I said, no, I never signed up to be an MSD customer. By law, I am mandated to be an MSD customer. So we don't get a choice of whether we use MSD or not. We are mandated by law to be hooked up to MSD sewer system. And they can screw us over anytime they want. And when you look at their history, look at Florissant 2 summers ago during the big flood up there. There was thousands of people flooded out, and there's still buildings that are empty because of the flood. And MSD skirts around the issue. They're not responsible for above ground water. They're not responsible for this. So their insurance company says, look, it's over our claim amount. So we'll give you, they've offered me $72,000 now after 8 months of negotiating, but it's nowhere near paying the construction cost.
No, not even close. We're talking with Steve Kings on Metro Shooting Supply. We've been showing you a picture of flooding that occurred. I know people who've dealt with flooding situations and stories like this. I've also seen other stories when news stories were done that MSD stepped up and got stuff done, but they weren't the price tag that this one is.
Right. And I told him if I had a car insurance and I hit a Lamborghini and my car insurance says, hey, we're only allowing you to $100,000 claim, and this Lamborghini's $500,000, I have to pay for that out of pocket. MSD's got the money. And so they said, we have to be transparent. If we pay for your claim, then everybody can look at that and see how it goes. And I said, I guarantee if this was Ozzie Smith's house, or if this was the Sam Page's house, or even the director of the MSD, CEO of MSD, Brian's house, if this was his house, they would have fixed it and had it fixed.
Who is the director of MSD?
Absolutely.
His name is Brian Hoschler or something that I can't pronounce his last name, but he announced his retirement this year. So he's retiring at the end of the year.
Oh, somebody else gets to deal with this.
Somebody else will deal with this. And he's done a fantastic job at MSD. And MSG, they got sued by the EPA, and they're on this 20-some-odd year, $4.7 billion mandated infrastructure repair. And they're doing all these things. St. Louis has got a very old infrastructure. And I think that Brian and his crew has done a fantastic job. But I've been in this location for 10 years. I've never had an issue. I've had 2 floods now within 7 weeks of each other.
That's their issue. That has nothing to do with you. And by the way, for our listeners and viewers all across the country, MSD in the state of Missouri, it's basically 2 utilities in one. They provide collection and treatment of wastewater. We were talking about that. And that comes from residential. It comes from commercial, industrial as well. But they're also responsible for, they take care of the operation and maintenance of a separate storm sewer system that serves like almost all of St. Louis County. I've heard it's 90%.
Of St. Louis County and St. Louis City, yes.
Okay, so once again, you have no choice.
Nope.
You have to deal with them. And if you don't have these services.
And if you look at the Better Business Bureau complaints on them, most of them are about billing issues because they have no problem billing you and collecting money from you. They have a problem paying out when there's a damage.
Correct.
So I've had several customers and several people contact me in regards as if they saw Elliot's story, which was so eloquently done, as he always does. And they said they lied about me too. They said they were going to take care of our house, and they never did. There were people.
Did they say that in the story?
Yeah, they said that I wouldn't accept their money, that they've tried to give me money and I won't take it.
Has State Senator Brian Williams been able to help you at all?
He hasn't yet. I've contacted him. It is working. I have been in contact with his people. And I'm going to take it all the way to the governor's office. And when I told the insurance adjuster, they said, do they have jurisdiction? That's the freaking governor. I think they've got all kinds of jurisdiction. When you look at these people, my story's bad enough. But there's people that got put out at Christmas time that had to move out of their house and lose their Christmas presents and lose all their stuff. And kids didn't have Christmas that year because MSD wouldn't pay for their house to be redone. And they were in a hotel and they were in various places. And these are the Better Business Bureau reports that I was reading on. But I've got customers now that are contacting me, and I'm going to try to get enough people together to get a class action lawsuit against MSD.
That's because you're retired and you have lots of time to do this.
That's all I do. Yeah, I just live for MSD now. And I told them, this isn't going away. I'm not going to sleep, and I'm going to fight for this. So I have a little defund the MSD campaign. I figure if we can defund police departments, why can't we defund MSD?
Yeah,
Good point.
I hate to hear that. Please keep us updated
Yeah,
on
I
that.
will. Thank you very
I'm glad
much.
that Elliot did something on that, and hopefully there's something that Brian Williams can do, or that's your guy, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be anybody else that could help you from a political standpoint.
I'm looking for anybody. If there's any of your listeners know anyone, or if they've had experiences with this, have them contact me at buylearnshoot.com. Look at our webpage. I'd like to have
BuyLearnShoot.com.
I'd love to have as many people get on this as possible, because I know that I'm not the only victim of
Guarantee
MST.
it. No,
I
it
know I'm
didn't
not.
just hit there.
But this is a lot of money, and I'm going to fight it.
We're talking with Steve King. He's the owner of Metro Shooting Supply. He wanted to talk about this MSD situation he's been dealing with for quite some time. It's sad to hear that. We also have other issues that are going on. These are situations that can happen anywhere in the country. It happens to be going on here. What are your thoughts with this whole open carry in the city of St. Louis? And now I'm starting to hear rumblings of St. Louis County officials wanting the same thing.
It's a double-edged sword, Vic. I think that what the guy in the city is trying to propose is that you cannot open carry unless you have a concealed carry permit. And that's going to stop all these little hoodlums, because they don't get concealed carry permits. So what he's doing is he's trying to help the police in a backdoor type of manner, trying to help the police go after these thugs, because they're carrying open, and they're making it very clear that they're open carrying. And if they don't have a concealed carry permit, he wants them locked up. So I think it's a good thing in a way, because I'm not for open carry in the first place. I think it's a stupid idea. I think
and that's why I wanted people to get an idea, because they may, he sells guns. They may have a distorted image of who you may be and what you are, but you give thought behind where your opinions go.
And I'll tell you, I think open carry is a horrible tactic. Why would you want your enemy? Why would you want your adversary? Why would you want your potential attacker knowing you have a firearm? And if you have that false sense of security that says, I've got a gun on my hip, nobody's going to hurt me, you are mistaking, because hardened criminals will shoot you first, take your gun, and then commit more crimes. They're not afraid of your firearm. So if you keep it concealed, you're a lot better off strategically to be able to get the jump on somebody if you have that opportunity.
How are you guys doing right now when it comes to the state, when it comes to sales, the opinions, the popularity of getting out and getting a gun for whatever reason somebody may need it for? Hopefully the first and foremost is protection.
Yeah, right now, I think that during the summertime, there's not a lot of hunting going on. Fall, September 1st starts dove season, and then all the winter sports start flying in. But we sell a lot of guns during deer season and stuff for hunting purposes. But now, with the news that's going on, with the economy tanking, with people breaking into everybody's houses, with these carjackings, the majority of our people, the 99% of our people, are coming in for home defense, personal defense guns. And our concealed carry classes are still filling up, because people want to get that license. Even though we're a permitless carry state, people want to know the laws, because you don't know what you don't know. And until you take the class, you have no clue of what you're doing. You're just putting a gun on and praying for the best.
Can you tell me what is going on right now when it comes to not Joe Biden himself, because he doesn't even know what's going on there.
Poor guy.
But the whole situation, if you've seen this or not from a national standpoint, I don't know. He's attempting to regulate pistol braces in an appeals court. Now, he was shot down, but he's not going to stop it. What is the big deal with pistol braces, in your opinion, that he was trying to get rid of? And why get rid of pistol braces?
There's twofold to that as well. The first is pistol braces were initially developed for veterans who had been disabled during the war, and they couldn't hold an AR-15 or they couldn't hold an AK-47 rifle because of loss of appendage or nerve damage or whatever that may be. So they made these pistol braces to fit the rifle and have it go onto their forearm, and that gave them a stability brace to shoot this AR handgun or AK handgun. And it made it very probable for these guys to come out and shoot again, and that was a good thing. But what happened was, over a course of about 8 years, people were on the internet blatantly putting those pistol braces against their shoulder and essentially making this AR pistol.
Were these to the people you commonly refer to as the thugs and hoodlums?
No, not necessarily.
Anybody and everybody?
Yeah, these were everybody. They were putting this brace against their shoulder and purposefully using them as a short-barreled rifle. As a matter of fact, a lot of people advertised on YouTube, throwing it up to ATF's face, going, haha, I've got a short-barreled rifle. I didn't have to pay the tax stamp. I've got this gun, and there's nothing you can do about it. and they were shouldering this gun. This gun was not designed to be shouldered. So ATF spent 8 years, 9 years, and they compiled all this data, and they have all these YouTube videos and all these articles and all these magazine articles. And then they went and said, look, this is what's really happening.
So is that, we're showing you a picture of the back. Is that a pistol brace on the back end of that?
Yes.
Okay. So that would be used up against the shoulder. Is that what you're explaining? We have some other pictures.
Yeah,
well
that's not so. That's a blade brace. That is not designed to shoot from the shoulder. So this gun, a rifle's definition is it has to have a barrel length of a minimum of 16 inches and the overall length of 20 some odd inches. Yeah. So when you look at it from this side here, that barrel is probably an 11-inch barrel, and that pistol brace allows you to have a short barreled gun without getting a federal tax stamp, a $200 tax stamp, to make it legal as a short-barreled rifle. So they're essentially putting that brace against their arm and making it a stock, and that's the illegal part of it. The fact that it's a brace is designed to fit around the forearm to shoot that pistol one-handed.
And as one of our viewers says, Aaron says, the Buffalo shooter used one. So now in typical Democratic fashion, because one guy broke the law, they have to try to make us all outlaws.
Right. And the problem with that is it's not just one guy. There were thousands of people on YouTube, thousands of articles written over the years about how to skirt ATF's short-barreled rifle rule, and they documented every bit of it. And when they brought it to the powers to be, they said, look, this is what is really happening. And it's not for veterans. These aren't veterans that are holding these guns up, shooting them from the shoulder. This is not designed and used as it was intended. I had several of these. I had 11 AR-15s with pistol braces on them. I had to take them off January 31st when they became illegal. I don't believe it's going to hold up constitutionally. I think we're going to get it reversed. Are they illegal
right now?
Right now, it's illegal to have that on a rifle. On a pistol, I'm sorry. It's a pistol.
On pistol. Federally, it is right now.
Everywhere in the country.
But not on a rifle. So that's what Biden's trying to do on a rifle.
No. So what happens is you don't put an arm brace on a rifle. You'll have a stock on a rifle. Okay. So what they were doing was essentially making this quote-unquote arm brace a stock and putting it against the shoulder. Instead of holding it on the chin or on your forearm where it was designed for, they're putting it against the shoulder. And it's complicated, and it's a definition of words on what makes a pistol and a rifle. A pistol is a firearm fired using one hand. A rifle is an instrument shot from the shoulder, and they were using these short-barreled rifles, these pistols, as short-barreled rifles, putting them against the shoulder, making them illegal.
Man, okay. We got an update on that. We'll continue to follow that story on Big Fast with Lizzie Spark. She's in Gulf Shores, Alabama this morning with her beautiful flag behind her. Pro Joe running the board. And, of course, we've got Steve King with Metro Shooting Supply. Shootings and murders have not stopped in the city of St. Louis. They've not stopped in Chicago. They've not stopped in other cities around America. You read it. You see it. What do you...
We need more gun laws, of course.
You sell guns. What do you make of this these days when you see all these reports right now?
It breaks my heart because we're selling to legitimate, honest people. People can't come into my gun shop and just buy a gun and go out and start killing people. There's not, they could, but they're not the people I'm selling to. I'm selling to people who are scared to death because they've listened to the news, they've watched the news, they see the crime. They see these little thugs on the internet. They listen to these rat videos. They watch how these people are acting. They watch the carjackings at Quick Trip. These are my customers. They come in and they say, look, I'm scared to death. I have 80-year-old people coming in who said, I've never had a gun in my life before.
Did you see the story a few days ago? A woman who was in her 80s woke up to a guy holding a gun and she blew him back away, I think, with a Magnum.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing that every day. We're seeing people defending their homes and being victorious over bad guys. And that's the thing about concealed carry and open carry. When you have it concealed, when the bad guy doesn't know that you're armed, you have a better advantage of success.
Which is why you're against open carry.
Exactly, because I don't want the bad guy knowing I have a gun. Trust me, I carry a gun everywhere I go that's legal to do, but they don't know I have it.
So where do you see this all going? Nothing's going to change unless leadership I'm assuming you're a deterrent guy when it comes to policing.
I think that we need to give more power to the police. I don't believe that there's a wide, rampant indoctrination of bad policemen going around abusing.
Of course not.
It just isn't there. It never has been there. And even in society, you watch that old Clint Eastwood movie where they had the motorcycle cops that were vigilantes. Sudden Impact, I believe it was.
That's a good movie.
Even he took care of the issue within the issue. Police take care of themselves. Now, are there bad policemen? Of course. Are there bad doctors? Of course. Are there bad anything? Of course. But in general, we trust those people, and they put their lives on the line every day to protect us and to fight crime and or evil. And I say that if they make a mistake, we need to look at that mistake from their point of view, because they only have a split second to make that decision. And as a former policeman,
thank you for saying that.
I have to say that I want to go home at night. And there are many times when you have very quick, split second chance to make a decision, and you have to live by that decision, right or wrong, the rest of your life. These guys aren't going out purposefully making wrong decisions to live with that guilt the rest of their life. They're human beings. They're just like us. And the majority of them, the most of them that I know anyway, are very good, honorable people, and they are frustrated. They come into my store and they buy firearms and they buy ammunition, they shoot, and they do all the things in my store, and they're friends of mine. And they tell me how their hands are tied. They can't arrest people that they need to have arrested. They can't charge people that need to be charged because prosecuting attorney's offices won't issue the warrants or won't issue the charges against them or won't prosecute them. This is where their hands are tied. They feel like they're going out for 8 to 10 hours a day, patrolling the streets, getting shot at, getting into fights, having to put their life on the line for absolutely nothing. And what's going to happen is they're going to walk away. And when the guard dog walks away from the sheep, the wolves take over.
And the wolves know, don't they?
That's absolutely right. And the wolves are knowing that right now. And that's why they're doing whatever they want to do. But what happens is once the sheeple understand that the guard dogs can't be there anymore because the guard dogs have been neutered or defanged, now it's up to the sheeple to step up and fight for themselves. And you're going to see a lot more of these home defense
You think that's going to happen,
situations.
don't you?
Absolutely. The police cannot be in everybody's house 24 hours
What
a day.
about county areas where it may be nicer, where we're not used to seeing a lot of crime happen?
We don't see it there because they don't report it. It happens.
Right.
It happens everywhere.
What do you mean they don't report it?
They're not letting the news media know that there's home invasions in very nice neighborhoods. But I have customers that come in and say, I live in a gated community and these people broke into my home.
Steve is exactly right about that. Years ago, we lived in a gated community and we had a home invasion and all of our neighbors did. And no one reported that. No one knew because they didn't want the town of Weldon Spring to know there was any crime. And there was. And it was people coming over from the city or somewhere else, not just the city, but they were coming in, posing as cleaning people, knocking at the door. And when you didn't give them what they wanted, they pushed their way in, started stealing stuff. And by the time the police came there, the damage was done and it was never reported.
It frustrates the hell out of me. Aaron Bland with the quote of the day, quote, try that in a small town.
Exactly. Good job, Aaron. You have to protect yourself
today, but yeah.
That song is an amazing song. I listened to it the other day.
It's number one on Billboard completely.
Right. And when they said that was a racist
Taylor
song,
Swift is like fifth.
and
Jason Aldean is number one. You are in the silent majority that needs to wake up. People.
Absolutely. When they talk about this being racist and what have you, they're crazy. And the fact of the matter is that when people come into my store and they smell like weed, I have to kick them out. It's a federal law. You can't smell weed or be under the influence.
Weed smells like?
Yeah.
I guess you smell that as soon as they walk in the door.
Oh my God. And it's nauseating. And so we have to kick them out. The first thing that comes out of their mouth is that we're racist. And I'm like, what do you think that black people are the only people that smoke weed? Weed's been around forever, ever. And it hasn't been an issue. But now everything's racist. And it's so frustrating to see this. And I'm from a small town. I'm from Rolla, Missouri. And down there, you couldn't do anything without somebody knowing who you were. I had a car accident when I was 16 years old. I called my insurance agent. He said, I already know. I already know.
Oh, that's funny.
I was like, how do you know?
Oh. And Steve, do people come in there smelling like weed? And also, besides saying that you're racist, do they say it's legal now here in Missouri?
Yeah, that's a big misconception. They come in and say, what's the big deal? It's legal. It's legal on the state level, but it is not legal federally. And we're regulated by federal law. So when they walk in the door, and there's signs on our doors, there's everywhere. But we have people come in and go, man, your vestibule out there, it reeks because there's no airflow until the doors open. And they'll sit out there in the vestibule reading that sign for 5 minutes going, what does that mean? I can't come in here if I smell like weed. And they're sniffing themselves to see if they smell like weed. And it's not just black people. I'm not trying to say it's only black people, but it's every person that walks in the door thinks that, hey, it's okay now. Missouri's legal.
Are you still having to turn down several people for gun purchases?
Oh, absolutely. Because of that?
No, but what do you get? What would you say turnaways on a weekly basis? Do you have an average? Because you've shown me your stack that you sit and wait for the FBI to come investigate that they haven't. I've seen the stack.
Right. Those are the denials. Those are the people who we have caught that cannot purchase firearms. And the FBI doesn't, or nobody does anything about it. So that's what the other frustration that I have in this business is that it's our job, and we're regulated very heavily. It's our job to do a background check on every single person we sell a firearm to. And what's the reason for the background check? Ask Joe Biden. What's the reason for that? Chuck Schumer, what's the reason for it? To get bad guys not to be able to buy guns. Makes sense. Right. We have a job. It's like a big net. We go fishing and we have this net, and all of a sudden we catch a fish. There's a guy here that can't buy a gun. What do we do with him? Absolutely nothing. We put that paperwork in a file. He can't buy it. He leaves. The government never comes in and says, oh, man, thanks, Steve, for catching these 500 people this year for not being able to buy guns.
That sucks.
It does. And so I've got a stack of denials that are probably 3 or 4 feet tall that they have never done anything with. And
on a weekly basis, do you think how many denials are you having to turn people away on a weekly basis?
I would say we get probably 6 or 7 denials a week.
And to give perspective, you are one of the largest gun stores. In the state
We sell 100 guns in 10 days. We're telling a lot of folks they can't have them because they're denied. And it's for various reasons. You can get denied for whatever it is, whether you don't pay child support, you get a court order, you get a restraining order, you had done a felony, you've done whatever. And some of these people are so ignorant about the laws, they say that felony happened when I was 16 or 18 years old, 19 years old back in 1975. It doesn't go away. It's like herpes. It stays there forever.
Like herpes, it never goes away.
Bad luggage and herpes, I think Eddie Murphy said, sticks with you forever.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I'm talking with Steve King of Metro Shooting Supply. I'm Vic Faust with Lizzie Sparks, Pro Joe from canceltheshow.com. You can catch out all of our original content on our sites. I wanted to let people know about this too. Pro Joe, if you have those, can you pop those up? You may have to go back in our file, and I didn't tell you about it before, but if you go to our website, canceltheshow.com, we have coupons because we continue to run specials with Metro Shooting Supply when it comes to the classes, because you want to get people trained, and also a special for people when it comes to holsters. So if you could break down those two topics, and then of course we'll pop up and let people know they can go to canceltheshow.com and what works for people.
Sure. We have our next concealed carry class is September 22nd or 23rd. I think it's 23rd. I apologize. The Saturday in September. So that's there. And anybody who listens to the show, if they go on here and get this coupon, they get 10% off that class. I know it's not regulated by law or mandated by law anymore in the state of Missouri to get this class, but I promise you, when you leave that 8-hour class, you will know a lot more than when you started. And you'll be thankful that you did it. We just had a class on August 22nd, and the people said, we didn't even realize there was so much responsibility with this. And not only that, but there's a shooting test. There's a shooting portion, which I feel is so important to prove that you can handle this gun. Not that it's your constitutional right, you don't have to prove anything. But when you're carrying this firearm, you're responsible for every single one of those bullets. And whenever a bullet leaves that gun, there's a lawyer attached to it. And if that hits the wrong thing or the wrong person, you could be held responsible for it.
Did you sue anybody for shooting into your ceiling in the gun range?
No, we can't do that, unfortunately.
Pro Joe, Lizzie, I'm not kidding you. I was in his gun range. There are, hundreds?
Thousands of holes.
Thousands of holes.
Oh, wow.
In the ceiling. I'm like, what the hell? And then people think they can just go get a gun and go protect themselves if given a horrible situation, and they're having to think fast and their adrenaline's rushing and they have no training.
Absolutely.
Correct.
I had my very first day that we rebuilt the range and fixed all the...
There's literally 1,000 holes.
Thousands.
In the ceiling.
Yeah, thousands. The first day we fixed all that wood. We made it wood covering steel plates. And we fixed all that. We made it beautiful. And the first day, a guy shot it with a shotgun. And I said, why did you shoot that? And he goes, somebody had to.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
I was like, no, nobody had to shoot that ceiling. And so he was banned from the range. But
I bet he was banned. I bet he
but
was.
the thing is that people don't realize muzzle discipline and trigger control. And this is the first safety. Your finger is your first safety on a gun. So whenever someone says this gun doesn't have a safety on it, yes, it does. It's connected from your finger to your brain. And as long as that's working, you're going to be fine.
The other thing that you're offering people is a discount
Mhm.
coupon, another discount on our website when it comes to holsters.
Yeah. So what we've found in the last 5 to 6 years is a majority of the people are putting lights and lasers on their firearms. And the industry hasn't caught up to that yet. No one is making, mass producing holsters, custom holsters for these people that have lights and lasers on their firearms. So we have taken it upon ourselves to start that and make custom holsters for people who come in and they have a Glock 19 with a Streamlight light on it, and they want to carry it inside the waist. So we will make them a holster for them to do that. There's not a lot of commercial holsters out there designed to put lights and lasers on firearms and then carry them concealed.
Are those starting to sell more? Are people starting to understand that?
They're expensive compared to a $25 shelf holster. They're made out of Kydex and leather. They're very good, high quality holsters. So people are coming in and seeing the value of it. I'm not going to say it's gangbusters, but a lot of people mistakenly just put this gun without a holster inside their pants and carry it that way. And that's going to be a bad problem someday. And we want to tell people, we stress that a holster does two things. A holster orientates the gun in the proper direction, in a safe direction, and it also covers the trigger guard so you can't have an accidental discharge. And some of these guys sticking these guns down the front of their pants are going to understand someday that wasn't a good idea.
Please tell me, you've heard stories of this happening.
Yeah, and when a particular firearm, I don't want to bad rap anybody, but Glock came out in 1980s, and Glock was the first gun company to be widely mass produced that had a safety on the trigger. You had to depress the trigger to make the gun go off.
Yeah.
It was called safe action firing. So people, a lot of policemen carried the Glock 17 when it first came out. And since it was a brand new concept of how it worked, a lot of guys stuck that gun right down the front of their pants. And there were some, I think the first year alone, there was 17 to 30, something like that. I can't remember the exact number, 17 or 35 shootings from policemen putting a gun down the front of their pants, whether they took it off the street and was sticking it in there for safekeeping, or it was their gun and they stuck it in there and they had an accidental discharge. A lot of times they shot that gun accidentally, putting it back in the box because the trigger had to be depressed to put it in the Tupperware box it came in. So things have changed now over the last 25, 35 years. But people still shoot themselves. It's just not as, we just don't hear it as much.
Hey, before Lizzie and I let you go today, can you remind everybody, I'm sure people in the policing community, at least in the state of Missouri, understand, maybe military, but you do some very special things for police, men and women, first responders, and also the military. Can you talk about the sections that you have and how you can help? Because if there's somebody that doesn't know what you do, there may be a family member, a friend, say, hey, you need to go check out Metro Shooting Supply because of what Steve King's doing for these people.
Yeah, as a former policeman, I have a special place for these guys in my heart. Nurses, doctors, judges, these guys, I've worked with them for many years. And so law enforcement, firemen, paramedics, prison guards, security officers, we have a section in our store, a whole section dedicated with law enforcement. I call them law enforcement guns because at the time, law enforcement was the only people who could have them. But these are first responder firearms, and there's nothing special about them. They don't have better sights or trick triggers or laser guided bullets or anything like that. They're standard firearms that any person could buy, but they're at a discount. They don't have a federal excise tax put on it. So people don't realize when they talk about banning guns and ammunition that our industry has a lot of money that we put in taxes. And unfortunately, the government can't take that money. So it's earmarked for the conservation department. But we pay 11% of everything that's manufactured, firearms and ammunition. We pay 11% to the conservation department. And the Democrats can't get that and spend it on their pork belly stuff. So they want to ban guns. But the federal excise tax is taken away for the LE people and the first responders. So we have an entire section with all the name brands, and they can come in and get a firearm. All they have to have is credentials showing they're a nurse or a judge or security guard, fireman, military, retired military, and they can come in and buy these firearms at a discount, and we offer them to them every day.
That is amazing. I'm
wonderful.
glad that you do it. Steve King, we'll be catching up with you, my friend. We appreciate
Thank you for having me
joining
on.
us. Anything else you want to go talk about before we go? I know you lambasted MSD and showed us the proof of it, so we got that taken care of.
I hope they come to their senses, because as I wrote in the letter to them, if they just satisfied one upset customer, it's going to be better than having to satisfy thousands of pissed off people that are going to come after them and probably make them pay in the millions. This is a lot easier ticket to pay.
And it is one of those things that they can say whatever they want to, and local news has to get both sides of the story.
Absolutely.
I mean, they should, but if somebody lies, you just have to be able to prove it. That's
absolutely
how it's always been, unfortunately. Steve King with Metro Shooting Supply. We'll be in touch, my
Thanks,
friend.
Vic. Have a good day.